There's some moments when I'm doing a takeover where I'm just like, wow, how did that not get rolled to full? Hey guys, this is Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, we're doing an account takeover today. So Primster was the winner of the account takeover for this month's members on hellhades.com. Basically, anyone rare or above goes into a nice cheeky little draw, and we do a free takeover for one of those lovely people once per month. So Prim, this is her kind of little blurb to me. Please, can you do me an unkillable clan boss team? I've got Demytha, but I'm struggling to do it. It's really complicated. If you could do it using your optimizer, that'd be awesome to see. I'm a gaming granny, and this will impress my grandchildren no end. So Prim, we will do our best for you. We'll see what we can do on this account. Let's have a look round. Level 90. We've got a bit of a great haul going here. Level 90 in gold 5. We've got some decent crit damage. Well done. Accuracy. Well done. Starting to move up the defense tree now. I like what I see. Still a lot of bronze in there, but it's actually not looking too bad. We're on the Gorda kind of login rewards. So I've been playing the game for quite some time. That means like at least a year and a bit, to be honest. Let's have a look at some champions then. What we've got going on. Okay, so we've got the necessary champions to do a Demytha style comp. Basically, you need a Demytha, an Heiress, a Seeker, and a Deep. That's like the 4 fundamentals, really, if you want to build a Demytha team. There are other versions. If you've got like a Man-Eater and a Demytha, there are versions. You can kind of check out Deadwood's site. I've been on Deadwood's site myself. I always do this if I'm looking to build Unkillable, because he's got some of the most up-to-date, most awesome speed comps running. I've decided the Myth Air feels like the best one for us. So most achievable speeds for an account of this type of level. They're still quite fast. The Myth speed comps are normally pretty damn fast. But for the DPSs, the speeds are actually quite low. And it kind of takes you through the different notes around what you need to be able to do. Click into here, and it's basically like, right, how do we make it work? Now, with this type of comp, if you want to make it fully affinity friendly, then you should use a DPS champion that's the same affinity as Heiress, therefore a Force champion. If you wanted to use like a Ninja or someone like that because they're just straight up high damage, you can do it, but you'll have to have a backup damage dealer that deals with Force affinity. So I'm going to jump into the account here. We've got options. So I could use Xavier, which would just throw out a load of poison for me. Albeit, if I can, if I've got gear here, I just want to put poison on someone else like an Heiress, because she straight up doesn't do that much damage. That's unfair, actually. She can do a bit of damage, but it should be better in a poison set if I could do it. So I'm thinking we could get a poison through one of the champions using a toxic set, as long as we've got the gear. And therefore, in terms of other options for us for DPSs, well, we've got Geo, who's just straight up great for any affinity type clan boss, and will be okay for a void clan boss. And that's kind of about it, really. Otherwise, we'd go non-Force affinity, and I'd probably jump into a Ninja style comp, who would be the most damage that this account is going to be able to punch out over that sort of length of time. So I'm going to go with Geo. Geo feels like a good fit here. Everything we do is about taking damage. And yes, Geo's passive does work, even when you've got block damage on. Mind is blown. So the reason why this works so well is that Heiress, when we get back round to get past the stun, or we get past any of the like AoE abilities that drop nasties from the clan boss, Heiress just cleanses it off and does a speed buff at the same time. Demytha extends the speed buff so that we're able to have speed buff up for the whole time, and we end up running this kind of gorgeous speed tune where we're getting a lot of attacks and a lot of speed turn meter boosts from our team. So you've got speed up, you've got Deacon and Seeker both doing turn meter boosting, and then basically you've got your DPS just laying in a load of damage. Now, interestingly, Geomancer's damage is not really spiky from his hits, although we can get a good amount of Warmaster hits. Geomancer's damage is spikier when he gets hit, but I just want to keep affinity friendly here for Prim, because I don't want it to be confusing. If I was building for myself, I would actually build Ninja to be my damage dealer and build in full crazy damage, and then I would just slot in a Force champion to come in if it was a Spirit Affinity clan boss. But I'm trying to make this as uncomplicated as possible for Prim. So we're going to go in with Geo, and Geo will just fit in every affinity that we need. So some things to be aware of when we're doing these type of builds. Demytha wants to have Steadfast, and Steadfast basically counts as like a buff in the clan boss eyes. So if everything is equal when he sees Steadfast, he will avoid trying to stun that champion. Same thing on Heiress. Just make sure that Heiress has got Steadfast as well. Everybody's going to want War Master in this setup. I did actually have to change the masteries that were on Geo. Prim still had Geo as Giant Slayer Mastery. That's not the way we go with Geo anymore. War Master is where it's at, and he will reflect the equivalent of War Master procs on his passive now. It's got nothing to do with the old kind of Giant Slayer thing he used to do. So War Master is just straight up better damage on a Geo. And then Seeker and Deacon, we've both just gone with like a War Master build. And really that's the main important kind of thing. Make sure you don't do Steadfast on anyone other than Demytha and Heiress. So we're going to jump onto the builds. I'm going to use the optimizer to do this. For those who have been patiently waiting, for those Mac users, we have got a version in beta test right now for the Mac. But for anyone else, this is a PC program right now. You have to have Player in Play on a PC to be able to use it. Any member of hellhades.com can use this. And if you're a paid member, you get a bunch of extra goodies when you're doing it. But anyone can use it for free if they would like to. So we're going to go into the team optimizer, do the clan boss majiggy, and start to grab some of these champions. So we're going to grab Deacon, Seeker, Demytha, Heiress, and finally Geomancer. And they'll just kind of sit there. If you want to go away from this page and come back to it, you can, and they'll still be there. So, for instance, I want to make sure that I lock everybody who's currently in Prim's arena team. So I can just hit this little padlock on the right-hand side here. And basically, this is something which is coming really soon to everybody, but I've got it on my system right now. I can give it like a rating of lock. So 5, you never touch it, even if I tell you can use locked champions. And it goes down 4, 3, 2, 1, which, again, once it comes out, I'll give you a better feel for what it is. But she is not going to be touched. None of her gear. Warlord's gear cannot be touched. And at the moment, Prim is using Zardgala as well in that team. So I can't use any of the gear on those champions. So we go in. We basically just set the parameters for the fight. So we're going to go for a damage build basically on everybody. And then I go in and set the stats that I want. So the main thing I'm looking for an unkillable team is to get to the right speeds, which we just looked at. So Deacon, for example, is a 185 speed. You don't need to put in loads of other information, by the way. It will already tell it 100% crit rate. If you want accuracy, you put the accuracy number in. I normally set 230 as a kind of good clan boss number if I need to land abilities. There's only Deacon here that's got a land ability and Geo. Everybody else actually doesn't need accuracy at all in their builds, which makes this a really easy one to build. And I'm actually thinking about doing, because the speeds are quite high on Heiress and Demytha, and we don't have tons of gear here, I'm actually thinking about Seeker, who's only got a 170 speed, doing his as a toxic set. Maybe even and Deacon. So I could come in here to sets, and I can just say, give me toxic only. Yeah, and it will find you a toxic build. And depending on how many glyphs you've got, you can also go in. So if I look here and hit the upgrade button and see how many Prim's been keeping, we've got like a decent amount, not tons. We've got a decent amount, certainly, of low-level ones. So I could tell the optimizer, just assume that we're going to have like the option to do like a +2 attack, you know, +2 on speed, and maybe like a +4 on accuracy. They're the main things that I care about. And then when I then roll that, it will assume that I'm going to glyph things that aren't glyphed. Sometimes that finds you very different builds to what you would find if you didn't use the glyph tab. So that's mainly what I use. I normally use the basic one and just for kind of fill in some gaps where I know I've got pieces. And then on the final tab here, if I was going to change masteries after I did my build, I could re-choose masteries here, and the optimizer would assume that's what you're going to do. I've already done my mastery, so it's fine. And I could also tell it here, if I wanted to just use every piece that was on the account, I could just say include locked artifacts here. You can also play around with like minimum artifact level. So if you don't want to roll a load of gear, You could pull this right up to 12 and say, only find me pieces which have already been rolled to 12 or higher. For a build where I'm trying to use something like Toxic, I could even say, you know what, find me stuff that's at least level 4. So you can play around with that type of thing. Anyway, I'm going to do that for all champions, get this working, and we'll see what we find. So it turns out I was looking for the account. We only had enough gear to do one person in Toxic stuff. So I've gone for Deke. The gear was very slow as well. So there's no way I could have pumped it up to Heiress or Demytha. But Deacon's got some Toxic gear running here. We've got all of the builds come back fine with everything I needed, right speeds, that type of stuff. So we're going to rock and roll and get it going. There's some moments when I'm doing a takeover where I'm just like, wow, how did that not get rolled to full? And this is one of those moments, which is actually a set of dice we're going to be using on our Seeker. It's already got a triple crit rate roll on a crit damage 6-star piece, Swift Parry gloves. And it's like, what in the world stopped you from taking that one all the way up to 16? Because this is potentially one of the best pieces in the game right now for an offensive champion. It rolled accuracy. What the hell? But still, how does someone stop at that moment? I don't get it. Right then, all the builds are done. Demytha, main thing you want to achieve with her is the right speed. We got a 273. There's a couple of speed either way that you can go with this, but make sure you plug it into the calculator if you make changes. 273. The other stats really is just about trying to build some damage from her, but don't forget, she only hits once for every 3 abilities she does, so her damage potential is low. Her, and she hits quite weak anyway. It's more about getting to the right speed with your Demytha. Heiress can do a bit of damage. I've got her at 100% crit rate. She's running 246 speed. We've then pumped attack and crit damage with the rest of her stats. We've got a Seeker in Savage gear. He has got 169 speed, 100% crit rate, 251 crit damage, 3.5k attack. He's just in there for damage and his turn meter boost. We've got Deacon in Toxic gear. He's going to be laying some poisons from us. 185 speed, 100% crit rate, 230 accuracy minimum, and then I've just pumped attack and crit damage. And then finally, we've got our Geomancer. So he is running at 155 speed. Like, the original runs at 156 or 157 from the website. I pulled him down to 155 to now allow me to deal with Spirit. And Spirit is the kind of finicky type of speed running with this comp. So you just have to be aware of it. One speed can throw out the whole comp, especially against Spirit affinity. So I have set up an AI setup for this, which I'll show you here. So we've got the team setup is like this, which makes it full auto from the start. Deacon open with his A1, then got priority 1, A2, priority 2, A3. Geomancer, all your damage dealer, just whatever you need for their damage. Seeker, A1 to start as his opener, and then priority A2. Heiress, just straight open with the A2 and priority A2. And Demytha, priority A3, and priority 2 is A2. Once you've done that, it's a full auto comp from the start. I'm going to show you my run now. Here we are coming in at 60, near enough 65 million against the worst affinity for this team. Actually quite a good spread of damage. If I just make myself a little bit smaller for a second here. Deacon 10 million, Geo 21.8 million, Seeker 16.7, RS 10.8, and Demytha a sneaky 5 million. Honestly, this is a one key team with slightly improved gear. That's where we're at. A one key team with improved gear, and you know, that's something to which this account, you know, Prim can just kind of work towards. But there you have it. Demytha Heiriess, still one of the best unkillable teams out there. One of the best teams to kind of put in and just press auto, go away and do whatever you want. The only thing I would say and stress is that you need to check those speed ratios. You need to check the speed numbers. Otherwise, you can just fall foul to the comp failing. So it is kind of, especially against Spirit, it's quite, it's quite tricky to just find that right speed. And I think that's what Prim found when she tried to build it herself. Anyway, guys, I've been Hell Hades. I will see you later.